Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, good afternoon, and good night, Miss Answer. Uh, our group will be presented and explain about pathology related to ULO, and then for the first, I will explain about pathology mechanism. In this pathology mechanism, in disease related to pathology, each condition has a name and etiologic factor, such as infection, metabolic disorder, or degeneration. Diseases can be progressive or non-progressive and cause damage to various body structure, including muscles, joint, or nerve, ultimately leading to partial or complete loss of function. Supportive information such as X-ray, MRI, or CT scan helps to identify damage structure and assess to estimate for the recovery. And then next, trauma is another common cause of upper extremity pathology. Trauma can be present as a fracture, sudden impact injury, or repetitive stress injury. When analyzing the mechanism of injury, it is important to identify the type of fracture, whether open or closed, stable or unstable, and understand which structure are affected and how these structure are affected. Classifications such as the Bustillo and Ederson system are used to determine the severity of open fracture. Other contribution factors such as activity level, age, and frequency or injury also influence tissue damage and healing potential. And then for Bustillo and Ederson classification open fracture is type have maybe 6 type. Is type 1 is clean wound, is the fracture open less 1 centimeter in diameter with simple fracture pattern and no skin crushing. And then for the type 2, laceration more than 1 centimeter and but less than centimeter with a significant soft tissue crushing. The wound bed may appear moderately contaminated. And then for type 3, an open segmental fracture or a single fracture with extensive soft tissue injury more than 10 centimeter. In this type, injury are subdivided into 3 types. Types 3A, adequate soft tissue coverage of the fracture despite high energy trauma or extensive laceration or skin flaps. And type 3B, inadequate soft tissue coverage with periosteal stripping. And then type 3C, any open fracture that is associated with vascular injury that requires repair. Okay, after the trauma is congenital condition. Meanwhile, a disorder present at birth caused by genetic abnormalities, malformations, or idiopathic factors. Although these cases are rarely encountered in orthotic practice, understanding the mechanism is remain important as it determines the design of orthotic device and the patient prognosis. That's all for me. The next material will be explained by Kalista.
Hello everyone, my name is Alfatia Meka, and now I want to talk about the pathology of shoulder. Let's take a look of 3 common shoulder pathology. The one is rotator cuff injury, 2 two is clavicular fracture and the last is rupture bicep tendon. The one is rotator cuff injury. The rotator cuff is a group of muscle and tendon that keep the head of the humerus or upper arm bone stable in the shoulder socket. It helps us lift and rotate the arm. The four main muscles are known as seats: supraspinatus, infraspinatus, teres minor, and subscapularis. Rotator cuff injury may be acute from trauma or chronic due to wear and tear over time. They can involve a tear or arthropathy and may worsen if not treated properly. In some cases, a rotator cuff tear can also cause bicep tendinopathy, leading to pain and weakness during arm movement. The next is clavicular fracture, or the name is broken collarbone. Is one of the most common shoulder injury, especially in children and even infants. It can occur due to trauma like a fall or accident or because of pathology when weakness. The fracture may be unilateral or bilateral, affecting one of both sides. The location of the fracture determines the type of treatment, such as a sling, brace, or something. The surgery clinical must also be cautious of possible lung or heart damage, since the clavicula lies close to the vital structure. Lastly, a rupture bicep tendon occurs when the tendon connecting the bicep muscle to the bone tears. The long head of the bicep, located near the shoulder, is most often affected. This rupture can result from chronic tendonitis or a sudden traumatic event. It may also cause bursitis, leading to pain, swelling, and limited movement. Common risk factors include aging, smoking, corticosteroids, and repetitive heavy lifting or overuse. Okay guys, it's enough for me, and the understanding the shoulder pathology help in recognizing early symptoms and preventing further injury. With proper diagnosis and management, most shoulder problems can be treated effectively, allowing patients to return to daily activity pain-free. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Salwa. Here I will explain pathology affecting elbow and forearm. The first, the elbow arthritis. Elbow arthritis is an inflammation of the elbow joint that causes pain, stiffness, and limited motion. There are two main types. The first, osteoarthritis, is caused by wear and tear of the cartilage. And two, rheumatoid arthritis, an autoimmune disease attacking joint tissues. It can lead to swelling and deformity and sometimes cause cubital tunnel syndrome. Treatment includes physiotherapy, medication, and orthotic support to relieve pain and maintain movement. And the next, tennis elbow and golfer elbow. There are overuse injuries caused by repetitive movement. Tennis elbow or lateral epicondylitis. Pain on the outer side of the elbow due to wrist extension. So, tennis elbow in here. And then golfer elbow or medial epicondylitis. Pain on the inner side due to wrist flexion. Both conditions can be treated conservatively with rest, stretching, physiotherapy, and elbow braces or orthosis to reduce tension on the tendons. And the next, cubital tunnel syndrome. This condition involves compression of the ulnar nerve at the elbow. Patient may feel numbness or tingling in the ring and little finger, forearm pain, or weakness in hand muscle. It is often caused by repetitive bending or prolonged elbow flexion. Treatment can be non-surgical or surgical, and orthoses are used to limit flexion and reduce nerve pressure. And the next, supracondylar humeral fracture. a common fracture in children, usually from falling on an extended arm. Complications include cubitus varus deformity, nerve injury, and Volkmann contracture, a serious condition caused by poor blood flow. Treatment may be conservative with casting or surgical if alignment is poor. Next, radial head and neck fracture occurs when a person falls with the arms extended, impacting the radius bone. This injury can limit forearm rotation, supination, and pronation. Treatment involves immobilization with a spline or surgery depending on the displacements. Okay, guys, just like that I can explain. Thank you for attention. The next material will be explained by Kalista. Okay, see you.
My name is Krisetia Kalistagulo, and I want to explain about the pathologies that affecting the wrist and hand. The first is Bennett fracture. The Bennett fracture is the fracture that occur in first CMC in thumb that fracture with the subluxation. The Bennett fracture is caused by axial stress on the thumb that combined with flexion or bending when the thumb is clenched. And the second one is the Colles fracture. The Colles fracture is the fracture that going outward in the wrist and it's comminute. And when the Colles fracture happen, it should be surgery and use the orthotic treatment such as dynamic splint. And the last one is Smith fracture. So the Smith fracture or reverse Colles fracture is the fracture that going inward in wrist. And the causes is fall on in stretch hand or fall by gripping bike handle.
Hello everyone, let me introduce myself. My name is Febri Indrayani Purba. In this video, I am going to explain briefly about fracture treatment. The main goals of fracture treatment are to restore the normal position of the bone, maintain its stability, and support the healing process. Stage 1 is reeducation. The first stage is reeducation, which means returning the broken bone to its normal alignment. There are three main methods. First, manipulation. Manipulation is repositioning the bone manually. 2. Traction. Traction is applying a pulling force to realign the bone manually. 3. Open reeducation, performing surgery if conservative methods are not successful. The next step is fixation, which keep the bone stable during healing. There are two types of fixation. One, immobilization, using cuts, brace, or orthosis. And 2, internal fixation, using devices such as pins, plates, or screw inside the body. Thank you for attention, guys.